Hi everybody, it's part 2 of my walkabout video, seeing what it'd be like to sleep in an urban environment. This explains my actual night. And sorry about in the last video where I didn't get my head in the shot. I thought it was lined up right, but I didn't bring any tripods or anything, so there you go. So it was a cool night. It was really nice weather in the 60s, and I just listened to my audiobook and watched the stars until, like, I don't know, 8:30 or 9. It was really nice. I didn't have to be under any blankets. It was really cool. And then it was time to go to bed. I started getting tired about 9:30. It started getting a little chilly, and so I got into my bivy sack, which doesn't breathe, because it has silicone in the nylon, and it was good and toasty. I didn't even have I put my socks on, but I didn't even need them. And then I tried to lay down to go to sleep, and after about 20 minutes, the rest that I was sitting on, that I used as a pillow, it had a hole in it. Don't know when it happened. I just aired it out for the first time when I shot the video. So anyway, no pillow. And so anyway, without being able to breathe, any breathability, I got sweaty inside the bivy sack, really sweaty, and I couldn't sleep because it was too hot. So then I would get on top of the bivy sack so I could cool, so I'd have fresher air, but then I would get cold. And because I was wet from being from sweating inside it. So then I get cold, so then I go back in the bivy sack, and then I get sweaty again and hot, and so it just didn't work out. Without the pillow, it's really hard to sleep without a pillow. I'm not sure if you've ever done it, but for me, it is not easy sleeping without a pillow. It just doesn't work. Like, you gotta have your head elevated a little bit. And I didn't have any extra stuff inside the backpack. Like, I was wearing everything. By the time I hit 11 o'clock, I was wearing my long john top, my mittens, my neck scarf, my hat, my rain jacket, because it was getting cold. The rain jacket is breathable, so I didn't get sweaty on top. It was just my lower half getting sweaty. And then all the noises. I was too close to the grocery store, and so they had these big lights in the back, like big huge floodlights in the back of the grocery store, and I was behind some bushes, but there were like little pockets of light that would come through, and I would turn a certain way and I'd get a shaft of light that would hit my eye, and I got scared, and I thought there was someone with a flashlight looking for me or something, even though that's dumb. But anyway, so then I look around. No, it's just the light up from coming through the trees. And so I just dealt with the equipment not working. The light fleece blanket I had worked fine. It's just it wasn't quite enough unless I was underneath something. If I'd had a breathable bivy, which they do make, they're expensive. That's why I'm not going to spend $200 on a bivy sack that's breathable. They make Gore-Tex bivy sacks that are nice and light, but I didn't. I wanted to just try it out, and so, man, I got the full treatment on that. And if it had just been being sweaty and cold, I think I would have been okay. But the other problem is I was in a very populated area and right behind the grocery store. So I was just I fell asleep at like 10:30. I was about to fall asleep, and then some guy on a Harley, or a motorcycle without a muffler, came charging through, and rum 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 rum. And he was going back and forth in the back lot of the parking lot. I don't know what he was doing. For like 20 minutes, he's like gunning it in low gear, and it was so loud. And then he left. And so then I fell asleep at 11:30, and then at 12:30 I got woken up by a delivery semi, a fifth wheel semi truck was delivering stuff to the grocery store. I never thought of that. Of course the grocery store is going to get their deliveries in the middle of the night. So at 11:30 or 12:30, when I got woken up to that, it took an hour for them to unload it. And it was a big gonging boom every 10, 30, 1 minute, 1 second, or 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. And so it was completely random, and I could not sleep. It was just like this, the noise was crazy. So then when it left at 12:30, or when it left at 1:30, I was full on awake from all the banging around. And then I fell asleep at 2. Was it 2? No, I was about to fall asleep at 2. Oh my gosh. I was about to fall asleep at 2, and I was just falling asleep, and I heard a woman scream. And it wasn't like a woman was being attacked. It was like, I don't know, it was like someone was surprised or something. Not like being attacked, but it was still loud. And I was bolted straight away, heart racing. I was like, oh my gosh. And I listened, and I had my little, and I was looking through the trees to the lighted areas where the floodlights were hitting. I couldn't see anything. So then I got up, and I walked around, and I went to I took a pee, and I was looking around, didn't hear another word, anything. And so I was like, okay, I tried to go to bed again. And it was just between the humidity and being hot, and then getting cold because I was wet, and then the noises, I finally fell asleep at 2 o'clock, yes, at 2 o'clock I finally fell asleep. Boom, I was out, just from pure exhaustion. And then at 4 o'clock, an animal walked right behind my head, maybe 5 to 10 feet behind me. I didn't want to shine my flashlight on it and scare it and have it attack me. But the thing was as big as it was like a 30 or 40 pound something. I mean, I had tucked myself into those bushes so no one could just walk up on me. I mean, it was just too brushy. They could walk up on my feet. They couldn't walk at my head. And so it walked behind my head, and it had to be a possum or a raccoon, some pretty big animal. And my heart was racing again, and it took like 20 seconds for it to get through the scrub and walk behind me. And so I'm just sitting there like trying to see the shadow of it as it moved. And then it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was just like, I'd had such a horrible night, and it was so hard thinking of the police finding me, or other homeless people walking up on me, or animals. It was just a bad night. And so I just laid there for an hour and a half till 5:30, and then I got up and I went into Starbucks, and I just sat in Starbucks till like 6 o'clock. Until it started getting a little bit of light. And so it was a horrible night. So how can I do this? Like, there's no way this is going to work the way I did it. How can I make this work? So the first thing is go to a less populated area. Can't be in the same place I was before. I gotta go someplace where there's not so many cars, motorcycles, trucks unloading. The animals I can't do anything about. Like, they're going to walk around, but I'm not so worried about that. When I was in Colorado, I would do solo backpacking way up in the mountains, and there were times where large animals walked through my camp, and it scared me, but I went back to sleep. Animals I can deal with because they're not out to get me. They're just animals walking around. They don't care about me. And so first, the bivy sack. I would need to either take that bivy sack that I made with sil nylon, and I made it so that I wouldn't destroy it. So I unstitch it, and then I make a little, A-frame tent out of it. And then I get under that and sleep under there. I just need more equipment. I was going too light. I like to go extreme. Like, what's the least I can do? As far as staying warm, if I were under something that was breathable, even just a little lean-to, at 53 degrees, I was fine. It's just, it just was not enough. I didn't have enough protection from the weather. And with the non-breathable fabric. So that would have been fine. And then like the screaming woman and the motorcycle and then the semi, all that stuff, that's not going to work. Like, I have to find, if I'm going to do that, I have to find a more quiet place. And I didn't think about that. Like, finding someplace really quiet, away, even if I had to walk an extra mile. I mean, it was a horrible night. So Noelle showed up at like 6:30. I kind of told her about my night and just how crazy it was. And so then I went back, I ate some breakfast, and then I slept for like an hour and a half. Like, boom, I was out, just dead asleep in the van while she journaled in Starbucks. Got a coffee and journaled. And then I was good for the rest of the day. And by the end of the day, I was freaking tired, but you know, I had a good day. We went for a walk, and so I've been, for like the last couple of days, I've been processing what on earth was that all about, you know? How can I do that again and so it's not so horrible? And the biggest thing is find a more private area where there aren't people around. Yeah. So anyway, there's my story. I lived through it, but never going to do that again. It made me realize that even though if I had a little tent and I did things different, it's not the same as living in a minivan or a van. Like, you are out there, you're exposed, like your cojones are out there for everyone, and it just doesn't feel safe at all. And a lot different when I slept in the mountains. I could do it, but here there's just there's people around, there's cops that could come around, there's other communities of homeless. It's just not the same. So it just really helped me realize that, all right, I have a good thing with this van. Like, it's not like, oh, I could do with the van, I could just sleep in the woods. A lot different, you know. You gotta have some kind of protection. I mean, who knows if that raccoon or possum would have walked over my body or like right by my head, you know. Holy crap, it was scary enough as it was, but it was a great experience to figure out. My next video is it's been 2 years now. It's been like 2 years and a week. We've been living in this van, or I've been living in the van or the minivan for 2 years straight. And so the next video, which is coming soon, I already have my guidelines. I'm trying to figure out all the points of it, is what I've learned in the last 2 years of living in the van. Best, worst, funniest, scariest, most anxiety, like things that, like those things, like the most joyful thing about living in a van, the most, you know, all these, the most, the worst. And so I'm going to talk about these key points in these 2 years and what I've learned. So anyway, everybody have a great rest of your day, and man, go do an adventure. Even if you totally do it wrong and it doesn't work like mine, I now know I don't want to do this. Not to like think, I don't want to do that, but like I really know now I don't want to be living in a city without a vehicle. Like, I know that. And so it's just good for me to understand those things. So anyway, everyone have a great day, and I'll see you next time for my 2 years in review. Bye.